You don't carry a weapon. You don't need one. You carry a file, and in that file is everything a man spent 40 years hiding. Most people think lawyers argue. They don't. Not the ones at your level. At your level, you construct realities. You decide what a jury sees, what a regulator finds, what a journalist never publishes. You decide which version of a man gets to exist.
There are 7 stages to what you do. Most lawyers never reach stage 4. You're already at 6. Stage 1. The interview. You graduate top of your class at a school with a name that opens doors. You don't celebrate. You already know the grade doesn't matter. What matters is who called you the week before graduation. Not a firm, a partner. One name, no letterhead. He tells you over coffee, the kind that costs $40 and arrives without being ordered, that you have a certain quality. You ask what quality. He says, discretion. You don't ask what he means. That is the first test. You pass it by staying quiet. The coffee goes cold. Neither of you touches it. Stage 2. The briefcase you don't open. Your first year, you carry documents. That's it. You don't read them. You don't ask about them. You walk through lobbies, through airport security, through the side entrances of buildings that don't appear on public maps. You hand the briefcase to a man. You return to the office. You file nothing. You bill the hours under a code that means research. You learn slowly that the firm has 2 sets of clients, the ones on the website and the ones who are never mentioned. The first set pays the rent. The second set owns the building. Stage 3, the sealed file. 18 months in, a partner hands you a case. Financial misconduct, multinational, 9-figure exposure. On paper, your job is defense prep. You pull the discovery files, you start reading. By page 40, you understand this isn't a defense case. It's a containment operation. There are names in that file that don't match the public record. Wire transfers routed through 4 countries, 2 of which don't have functioning governments anymore. A subsidiary that appears once, then vanishes from all subsequent filings. You close the file, you wait 20 minutes, then you open it again. That is the fracture point, not when you break a rule. When you decide the rule doesn't apply to you anymore. Stage 4. The pressure call. You are 31 years old. You make more money than your father made in his entire life. Your apartment has a view you never look at because you leave before sunrise and return after midnight. Then you get the call. Not from a partner, from the client directly. A man worth $11 billion is calling you from a number that doesn't exist. His voice is calm, in the way that only men with private security are calm. He says there's a situation. He says he trusts you specifically. You are still holding the phone 2 minutes after he hangs up. Stage 5. What you actually do. Here is what the public thinks lawyers do. Write arguments, cite precedent, object in courtrooms. Here is what you actually do. You map a man's exposure before he knows he has any. You identify every government agency that could conceivably investigate him. You build relationships with those agencies before a case ever opens. You learn which investigators want to advance their careers, which ones want to retire quietly, which ones have debts. Not financial debts, the other kind. You create legal structures so layered that by the time a regulator finds the shell company, the asset has already moved, twice, to jurisdictions that have signed no treaties. You don't break the law, you build a room around it, a room with no windows and only one door, and you hold the key. Stage 6, the other file. This is the part no one explains in law school. Every client you protect, you also document. Not for them, for you. A sealed drive, encrypted, 2 copies,
One in a safe deposit box in a city you haven't visited in 2 years. One with a person whose name you've never written down. Inside that drive, everything. The wire transfers, the suppressed testimony, the 3 occasions when your client crossed the line from aggressive accounting into something that would make a federal prosecutor's career. You don't plan to use it. You plan to never need to use it. But they know it exists. They've always known. That's why they pay you, not for what you know about the law, for what you know about them. Stage 7. The billionaire who pushed too far. You have one rule. 1. You protect the client. You do not become the instrument of harm to someone outside the file. You never name that rule out loud, but you've held it for 6 years. Then, a name appears on your desk that shouldn't be there. A whistleblower, mid-level compliance officer. She filed internally first, then externally. Now she has a lawyer of her own, a good one, public interest firm, genuine, and she's 6 weeks from blowing open a subsidiary your client thought was invisible. Your client calls, not the number that doesn't exist, his personal line. He wants to know what you can do. You sit in your chair. The city is gray outside the window you never look at. You think about the drive in the safe deposit box. You think about the compliance officer and her lawyer who believes in something. You think about the partner who hired you over $40 coffee 11 years ago. You give your client an answer. The call lasts 4 minutes. You don't sleep that night. Not because of guilt, because you've run the calculation, and you know exactly what you chose, and you'd choose it again. 3 weeks later, the whistleblower's case stalls. Her legal funding dries up. Her firm withdraws due to a conflict of interest that appeared from nowhere. The subsidiary restructures. The compliance officer moves to a smaller city, starts over. Your client sends nothing. No thanks, no acknowledgement. $11 billion doesn't say thank you. It just keeps moving. You go back to work on Monday. You take a new case. You open a new file. Somewhere in a city you haven't visited in 2 years, a drive sits in a locked box. It has your client's name on it, and now it has yours. The door doesn't lock from the outside. You locked it yourself.